Okay, so it's a big day here in the V8TV shop because we've just taken delivery of the latest V8TV project car, and it belongs to Mr. Steve Prouty here, and it's this fine 69 Firebird that's on the lift behind him. And Steve's last name is Prouty, and we tried for a long time to come up with a name for the project car because it seems like they all have to have names now. So we just decided to call it Routy, right? It sounds like Rowdy, but it's got a T, and that's that. So we've been having a discussion on the V8TV forum for 3 months, you know, kind of outlining what the project's going to be and the whole deal. So right now, Steve and I were just going over the DuPont Hot Hues color chip charts, and we're looking at doing something here in this red zone. But you'll notice we have some interesting paraphernalia on the table, and this is where the whole day kind of took a left turn, because Steve's from Wisconsin and was nice enough to bring. You're kind of like the cultural ambassador of Wisconsin.
Yeah. And I work in agriculture, so we have to support agriculture.
Right, doing your piece to improve the economy. Yep. So Steve brought down some Leininkugel's beer from Wisconsin and some, how do you say the root beer? Sprecher root beer, also a fine product of Wisconsin, and some cheese curds, which kick ass. Made in Wisconsin the genuine old-fashioned way. And some other. You're going to have to tell me the story on this one again.
Oh, that's just. Do you want me to read that?
Yes.
Wildflower cheddar cheese. Wildflower cheddar cheese is made from the milk of cows that graze on lush spring and summer wildflower pastures.
Did you hear the violins?
Yeah. So, and then also some sharp cheddar cheese that was aged 2 years.
Right on.
Okay.
So we kind of forgot all about the car, and we've been drinking beer and eating cheese. But let's get back to the task at hand here. Tell me a little bit about your fascination with the Firebirds and what's the deal.
I think a couple reasons. My grandfather was a Pontiac dealer in Richland Center, Wisconsin, up until about 1975. And as a kid, I remember being at the dealership. And one of the things I got to do was to get me out of the way, I'd have to polish the bumpers, the back bumpers, you know, whatever on the cars, just to get me out of the way. So I spent a lot of time around some of these cars, you know, that now are, you know, worth a lot of money. And I always remembered them as part of my grandpa's life, you know. So
wow.
The next thing was when I was 16, I got a Pontiac Ventura 4-door, 6-cylinder.
That's the one you got all the chicks with.
Yeah, sandpiper beige. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But after I had that car for about 6 months, you know, I petitioned my parents for a cooler car. I didn't get in any trouble, and my mother found a 1968 Firebird for me. And we went down and looked at it, and I bought it. My dad made me wait for 2 weeks to try to get a lower price, and that was the worst 2 weeks of my life.
I bet.
And we finally got it and brought it home, and that was in 1981, and I've always had it. So Firebirds are really dear to me, Pontiacs, Firebirds especially. So.
Now, when your grandfather was selling Pontiacs, was that his whole life's career? Did he have the dealership for a long time? Or?
He started out selling Kaiser Frazier's.
Oh, wow.
And then he had a Studebaker dealership.
Wow.
Then he had, I think, the first Buick dealership in that part of the state, and then he eventually picked up the Pontiac.
So what's the plan for Rowdy? What's the overall, you know, what do you want from this car? What's the goal?
Well, I guess I've mentioned it a little bit on the website, too. I'd like to have a nice-looking, you know, a car that catches your eye, that, you know, I can get in or my wife can get in it. And I have a son that's going to be getting his driver's license in a few years, but I want it to be something that all of us can drive and enjoy. I don't need to win quarter-mile races. I just like it to be a nice-looking, very drivable car, and something that catches your eye, that red.
Yeah,
Ben nailed that. That's the look I want. I want power steering, power brakes, air conditioning, so the family doesn't complain. And July 3rd when we're going out and it's 90 degrees.
Sure, and then it's a stout 400 and a 4-speed.
Fairly stock 400.
Well, I said stout.
Oh, stout. Okay.
Yeah. These quarters were replaced. from here down once before.
Yep.
And
Yep.
as we kind of get into it, we'll see if this is going to stay or if it's going to need a tune-up. And we're looking at a trunk floor that had been repaired a little bit, but nothing up here was real rusted out, which is kind of unusual for these cars. F-bodies tend to rust pretty bad there.
There and the front windshield as well.
The shock towers are in place in the back,
Well,
which is another one that goes right away.
I found this car for a friend of mine, and I helped him take it apart when he started the restoration. And when we first got the car, we thought we wouldn't have to replace anything. It was so clean. But of course, as you take them apart,
they get
we
worse.
found a few things that needed to be replaced.
And you said GM doors and fenders.
GM doors and fenders.
And then the rendering that Ben Hermance did called for the ram air hood and they have a name for those fender gills on the Pontiacs, the Trans Am stuff?
Air extractors, I believe they were called.
Air extractors. So you got a set, or we're getting a set of those.
We have to get those yet.
But you got the steel ram air hood.
Yep.
Where'd that come from?
That came from a company called the Parts Place in Chicago.
Was that
right by Chicago?
That's a fairly new reproduction, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they just started selling them last spring. I really wanted that hood, and I actually bid on an actual Trans Am hood on eBay, and I went up to $7,000 and got outbid. So I let it go. But the flip side of that is it's always going to be worth that unless these reproductions turn out to be super good. So the people will always pay that for guys that are restoring.
Well, yeah.
Really, I figured it would be an okay investment. That's my justification.
And then we're going to do the Trans Am rear deck spoiler.
Yep.
You've got a set of Boyd Junkyard Dog wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And those are polished, right?
Yeah.
Currently. And we're going to maybe mute those a little bit, powder coat the centers or something. And
something to match the stripe.
Right, to match the stripe. And then the motor treatment, the engine's over here wrapped up in plastic as Nick and Tom are making sure it doesn't fall over. And that was freshly rebuilt, but we're going to do some cosmetics on it, and we'll get into all that later. So I'm pretty excited. I mean, these cars, the Firebirds, I think are cool because it's not a Camaro, but it's got the lines, and you know, in a lot of ways, they're a little more obtainable. This isn't a real Trans Am, so
right, they're less expensive.
Yeah,
definitely. A '69 Camaro was out of my range.
Yeah, right.
You know, but a '69 Firebird you can get.
Well, and the good thing is, around here we work for beer and cheese, so
beer and cheese.
We'll have more updates on the website on this whole thing from start to finish, so you can follow along with Project Routy. And anybody who's got any thoughts or opinions or ideas or want to know anything about the car, there's already, it's got to be about a 6 or 7 or 8 page thread on the website, v8tvshow.com/forum. You can go to the forum, look under V8TV Project Cars and the Routy 69 Firebird, and you can join the conversation, because we're going to do pretty much all of the communication between Steve and the V8TV team right there on the website, so it'd be kind of fun to follow along. So you jazzed?
I'm jazzed.
Good.